allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll start with our council activity reports. Just a couple of notes. We have an update to our agenda. One thing removed, a couple of additions here. We have a public hearing at 6:15. As for activity over the last couple of weeks, it's been rather quiet for me. I wasn't able to make the department head meetings, and I'm trying to recall even if I had a committee meeting. We had the tree lighting ceremony on Saturday, which I think was a pretty good success. I have some constructive notes for the future, but I think for the second annual or first annual, however you want to look at it, I think it was a roaring success. So thanks Megan and Tarek and Ron, to you and your guys for getting that all set up. I think it was an excellent community building event. So turn it over to you, Neil.
I didn't have much activity. I had one meeting I think I slept through. Is that labor negotiations or?
Oh, yes. Yes, the one that you have
Lately forgot about it and carried cold and I think I was still resting. Then I was at the tree lighting Saturday night, had a lot of comments. People were pretty impressed and Gazebo Park looks very beautiful.
All right. I did have that labor negotiation meeting, Neil. Thanks for reminding me about that one. We also had a police and fire meeting last Wednesday right before Thanksgiving. Just discussed where things are at, nothing coming out of those. Megan?
I had the EDAP board meeting, which I thought was before our last meeting, and so I neglected to check and remember what it was we exactly discussed at that, besides, you know, the just general economic tone. Yeah, it was a quick one. We kind of were just discussing ongoing projects and things like that. And then we had, of course, the tree lighting, which, you know, a couple people told me it was like a Hallmark movie, so I will be riding that high for the rest of the month. And that is about it.
All right. Jean?
I had the EDAP meeting also, and we had planning last week. And then I too was at the tree lighting.
I was at the trail board meeting, also at the property negotiations and the tree lighting, and I think we all kept pretty warm there.
We did. All right. Moving on to our department head reports. Chief Wagner.
Thank you. Not a ton to report here. Beginning of November, Officer Eck was officially off of his field training, so we are back to our full complement of staff, everybody trained, no one's on field training anymore. We've got our nightly and cold weather firearms coming up on Wednesday, and for some reason, I don't know how it happens, but every year it's cold when we shoot, so.
It's going to be cold.
I know we've got the working session that I won't be able to be at, so I'll just kind of touch on a couple things there. The city, or the police department has kind of partnered with or joined on with Stearns County. They have a new victim advocacy position that they've been running for a while throughout the county. That was opened up to the smaller agencies here recently, and basically what it is when we get a victim of a crime, a lot of times the victim witness people in advocacy, it doesn't take effect until they get into the court system. The sheriff's office created this position, which ultimately kind of gets them on the front end while it's going through the investigative process. So if we end up with folks who are reporting property crimes or just different crimes in general, before it hits the court system, we'll be working with them to provide some advocacy for those folks, which will ultimately allow the officers to focus on the investigations and less on the victim side, and then hopefully the victims won't feel as though they're being neglected because they'll have a point of contact to help them with that. It sounds like the new RMS system will be up sometime late 23, 24. We don't know what the costs are. We don't know how that's going to look, but that system should be coming in the near future. So we'll be discussing that quite a bit more. And then lastly, just so that the council's aware, now that we are back to full staff, I'm going to be taking a decent chunk of time off here at the end of this year, first part of next year, so.
The RMS, that's the one that was supposed to be late 2021 and... Okay.
It's government, nothing moves fast.
Yep. Any questions for the chief? All right, thank you. Ron?
Okay, thank you. First of all, the parks have all been winterized. We did manage to get the new boat pads in. Remember, the pads are actually donated by the DNR, and we take care of its installation there. The RV site has also closed down. We can still use it. Just an FYI, the donations there this year have been just over $1,100. Compost site obviously is closed down also, and donations out there are about just over $1,200. And we did get the SCORE grant submitted from the county, and that is in the neighborhood of the $3,000 mark. Tree drop site will be just north of the fire hall again, and that'll be open till January the 10th. At the airport, crew's been working out there. The fly-in is going to be scheduled for August the 26th. Everybody wants to put that on the calendars. Holiday lights are in. We will be getting them up hopefully by the end of the week. Water samples, we did have a trihalmethane sample. That is when you have the organics in the water combining with chlorine. Everything that we sampled was less than detection, so below the detection limit, which is, I think it's 0.05 parts per billion. Outdoor skating rink, we will get that flooded as soon as the weather permits. And let's see, sidewalks. Please, if it snows, everyone does need to clean those sidewalks off, or you will be getting a letter from us. All right? Thank you.
The lights going over Lake Avenue, I assume are the new ones?
All right.
Yeah, they look nice.
Yeah.
Seen them already?
Yep,
Tonight, they look great.
I didn't see them. Okay.
yep, they were up when I came in. They look awesome.
Yep.
And then, of course, Chief, winter parking is now in effect.
It is.
Okay. Any questions for Ron? All right, thank you. Tarek?
All right, yeah, we had proper negotiations, talking to a developer who's interested in doing some building here in town. That's still early stages, though. We also had labor negotiations with some of the department heads. EDAT meeting, like Megan mentioned, was a very short meeting, and then we had a trail meeting with Chuck and Ron. The main topic we discussed there was a grant. We're getting ready to submit the application. Police and fire, and then lastly, it was the lodging tax advisory board with the people at the chamber, and we are going to have one more meeting before the end of the year because we'd like to do some planning for to do something in the winter months.
Great. Any questions for Tarek? Okay, seeing none. Great, our opportunity for a public forum. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to us? Now's your chance. Otherwise, we'll move. We have a public hearing at 6:15. Right, go on to the consent agenda. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes listed there on page 1 of our original agenda, the vouchers on page 1 of the update totaling $231,059.87, along with notice of the resignation from the Park and Tree Board. Can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
Also move.
Motion by Hertzberg, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Soini to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? That carries. One note on the Park and Tree Board resignation, if anybody has any ideas for who might like to serve, feel free to have them get in touch with myself or Jen at City Hall. Feel that we have some interest in a couple of people who might want to get on planning, so we'll follow up with that, but let's get the spot on Park and Tree filled as well. Okay, going on then to new business, we have the 2023 liquor licenses on page 6 of our original agenda. 2 applications from the Legion and Queen Bees. Looking for a motion to approve those.
I'll move to approve on-sale liquor and Sunday liquor licenses for 2023 for Painesville American Legion Post 271 and Queen Bee's Bar and Grill.
Second.
We have a motion by Brick, seconded by Soini to approve the on-sale liquor and Sunday liquor license for 2023 for the Legion and Queen Bees. Any further discussion on those? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? That carries. Great. Next on our agenda is the rezone for the 113 Garfield Avenue. And I'm just looking at, Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, but C, D, and E are all related to the same issue largely, yes?
Yeah.
I don't want those to get interrupted by our 6:15 meeting. I'm wondering if we shouldn't go ahead to the item G, the amendment to our joint economic development agreement, and then we'll come back to all of the rezones.
We did the center cares.
And I'm just gonna do them all at once.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go ahead to page 63, knock a couple of things out, and then we'll take care of our public hearing, and then come back and do the other pieces. So, Tarek, you want to talk to us about the agreement? It's pretty much
Yeah.
spelled out there.
Yeah, the only change to the agreement was that we're increasing, or the amount the township will be contributing from 3,500 to 4,000. Otherwise, it's the same agreement that was signed back in 2020.
So we're just looking for a motion to approve the agreement with the revised and increased amount.
I'll make the motion to approve township reimbursement to the city for administrating EDAP, amendment to the joint powers economic development agreement between City of Painesville and Painesville Township, recommend such to City Council.
I have a motion by Hertzberg as stated on the action sheet. Is there a second?
No second.
Seconded by Thielen. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? That carries. Okay, department head evaluations, page 72. Tarek.
Last August, I completed the evaluations for City Hall staff as well as all the department heads, and they were all satisfactory.
So the reason I asked Jen to put this on here is there was discussion. We have envelopes to start doing Tarek's annual evaluation, and I just asked about department heads. Last year, the council made a motion to do the evaluations at the council level. Jen, in her new role of HR, sort of told us that we shouldn't be doing that, can't be doing that. We ran into a bunch of issues. So asked to put a motion on here to authorize Tarek to do it and just report on the appraisals as he did. Just note that they were all satisfactory, or that he's taken action where necessary to improve things.
Got it.
All right, so with that, is somebody willing to make a motion to authorize the city administrator to conduct the performance appraisals?
Yeah, make a motion to authorize the city administrator to conduct the department head performance appraisals.
All right, I have a motion by Thielen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Soini. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None? That carries. Okay, on to the airport lease. I think we can get this in 2 minutes. Ron?
All right, thank you. Hangar number 10, that is on the north side. The pilot who was in there decided not to renew. We did contact one of the people on the waiting list, I believe, which is, I think we have 6 on there yet. And he was very willing to take it, so the contract is in front of you. And there's the terms of the agreements.
All right, so with that, we're looking for a motion to approve the T-Hangar lease agreement between the city and Mr. Yates.
I'll make the motion to approve the T-Hangar lease between the City of Painesville and Andrew Yates.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, I have a motion by Hertzberg, seconded by Breck. I heard a bunch of voices at the start. Anyone saying anything other than a motion? Okay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? That carries. All right. It's 6:14, so I'm going to say we're going to close out our business meeting. We're going to move into, at 6:15, which it'll be by the time I'm done talking, our public hearing on the Morozek variance. That is on page later in our agendas.
It's in the update.
Yes, we have a document in our update, and then it is on page 90 of the original agenda. Robert, Jennifer, anything you want to tell us before, that we haven't already talked about?
No, just one thing, I'm wondering if I can amend the height that I asked for by like 8 inches.
Up or down?
Up. I know that in the past, I've seen some of the variances that have been approved, and most of them, the two that I saw, one was they asked for under 20 feet, and the other one was under 19. So I would still be like, I didn't know if when I did the variance, I needed to put the specific, but really I should have said like under 19. It's just that I have a couple of quotes that have been coming in that one of them is like 8 inches higher than the original one. That's all. That's up to you.
Is that gonna run into a problem?
It would
It
have to
seems
start-
like it would have to go back to planning.
it would have to start over. Yeah.
We wouldn't need a new application and a new fee or anything, would we? We just need to start the,
I think he could amend his application. We wouldn't need to charge, well, I mean, do we have to publish again? I suppose. I don't know. I mean, that would be up to you. If the council wanted to waive the fee, but, I mean, you're gonna end up publishing something again, which is part of the reason for the fee, but whatever. That's up to you.
I mean, I guess, I would be okay with the city eating the cost of staff time, but the publishing expense is a few $100s. So if we have to publish again, that would need to be tacked on, I would think. I'm looking for guidance from the attorney and our zoning guru.
Well, it's gonna put you back, up to 60 days. We would probably deny this one to keep within a 60-day rule.
Yep.
And then council would, have to, I guess, okay that we can just amend the original application, and then you'd have to give us approval to not collect or
What was the publication for the last one?
$56.88,
Okay, so not as much as I thought it would be.
but you still have attorney fees and recording fees. And it will have to be mailed out to everybody within 350 feet.
Yeah, I guess we can. I
Just
can
skip the 8 inches, man.
I mean, it's just that it would, the one that just came in is a better building, but that's okay.
I mean, yeah, we can do it.
Yeah.
It's some paperwork and it's time, but it can be done.
So I should have just did the under 19 in the first place.
I don't know what you were working
Yeah.
with to begin with, so, if I had specs that came in at 18.2, I'd probably put it in at that as well.
Yeah.
But the world we live in, where Lord only knows what you're gonna get the next day from somebody else.
Uh-huh. Okay, yep.
Yeah, I mean, we can process it as is with what we've got in front of us, or,
Yeah, we'll do that.
okay.
Pretend I didn't say that.
It's your choice.
We did get a note in earlier from Richard and Lorraine Raveling, just stating, looks like it was received earlier today at City Hall. We have no objections allowing Robert and Jennifer Morozic to construct an accessory building with a height of 18 feet 2 inches. I would note they didn't say anything about 18 feet 10 inches, so. So that was the one comment that we got. I don't see anyone here to speak to that. Nick, I'm going to assume you're not here on an accessory structure. Okay.
Well, I have,
Yes.
as a neighbor, I'm across the street at 411. Have no objection, and any huge man cave is added value to your property, so.
Yep. And
Yeah,
yours
your
then.
yardstick.
All right, so we have our application. Can you tell us a little bit just about what's going on? I know you're building a garage space, but we have to make findings, much like the planning board did. regarding what you're going to use it for and why not getting a variance would be an undue hardship. So can you just talk to us about why it would be an undue hardship so that we can fill something in there if that's the way we're going to find it?
Yeah, right now, my house has a single-car garage. With everything that, you know, motorcycles, golf carts, all that, we can't park in our garage right now. So when we bought the property and I knew how big the lot was, that's when then I thought, well, you know, I'll just build a garage. And through the years, you know, with raising kids, it's hard to come up with the money to do that. So we're at a place now where we can. I know, see, when did our street get rebuilt? Man, that was 15 years ago. So I had them put in an entrance too off of Sunrise to get into the property there for where I wanted to build a garage. And right now, the height would be so that I can put a 2-post car lift in it, because I have I have a 1966 Ford F-100 that I want to rebuild, and the lift would allow me to be able to do that. The lift is 12 feet 6 inches tall, so you need at least 13-foot ceilings. I also spec'd out 10-foot high garage doors so that we could possibly we're kind of thinking about getting like a Sprinter van RV, and that will fit in there. So, if we have an RV, I also don't want it sitting outside so everybody has to see it. Would like the room to put into that garage. So that's kind of where I'm at, and why the size is what it is to get parking and place for storage, and also to work on an older car. And it definitely won't be any commercial use at all.
Jennifer and Bill, if this were an attached garage going up at the time the home was constructed, it would be restricted to a height of, what is it again?
35 feet.
35. But it's,
We did, we did talk about attaching this garage to the home.
We did, and it just wasn't real feasible. My house is a daylight basement,
okay,
so I have 4 feet or 5 feet of
ground.
that's sticking out of the ground. So my house right now is, I'd say it's over 20 feet. So I won't be higher than my house. But with the difference of the first floor being 5 feet higher, and then in the back having the garage down here, it just didn't seem like it would work very well. So if I had it detached, it's much a simpler build, and we kind of did want it detached just for insurance reasons.
I have what I need. Anybody else have any questions or thoughts? Okay. Anything else anyone wants to tell us from public? All right, then we'll close our public hearing, go back into our business meeting. We'll jump right into old business A, the variance. Let's just take care of that while we're here. We do have a report from our planning board. The report finds that the proposed use of the property would be reasonable, that the difficulty requiring a variance is not due to circumstances unique to the property caused by the landowner. Finds that if the variance is granted, it would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. Finds that the variance, if granted, will not be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan, and that therefore the request should be denied. I'm wondering, is 5B, is that a typo, or could Jean or Jen, somebody explain why this would not be in harmony with the zoning ordinance and the comp plan?
Because it is against what the ordinance is.
The general purpose and intent?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we have our own findings to make. First of all, we can adopt or reject the findings of the Board of Adjustment. Because personally, I'm fine with adopting those. Anybody disagree? Not hearing anything?
Nope.
walking through the findings, then I'll call for a motion at the end. The Board of Adjustment concludes based on facts presented. If we're adopting, do we need to do this all over again?
Well, I think you should. I mean, I'm just going to say this, I know Berozic said it's nothing personal, but I've given this speech so many times, I'm going to give it again. Finding that this would impose an undue hardship seems difficult under the law. I mean, an undue hardship can't be something that's financial, and it has to mean that the property can't be put to a reasonable use. You just approved an ordinance that says detached structures can only be 16 feet tall. If you thought that a 16-foot tall limit on detached structures meant that the use of the property was not reasonable, you shouldn't have adopted that ordinance. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but, the property still can be used. It's still useful as a residential property. You're entitled to have an attached structure up to 35 feet or a detached structure up to 16 feet. There's lots of reasonable uses that remain for that property, but to find that it would impose an undue hardship is, you're saying there's no reasonable use for that property unless we allow variance. And it's hard for me to justify that. I know that you have done it in the past, but we just approved a new zoning ordinance recently, and my goal when we went through that and made things more liberal in terms of many of the requirements of the zoning ordinance was to try to get away from granting variances. But again, if you want to say that that's not an undue hardship, you can say that, and I don't know, I don't know that anyone would challenge it, but it just legally, it's takes some mental gymnastics that I can't follow to get there.
I can see if this was not going to have any commercial value, such as you repairing as a job or something for a profit, that would raise a whole different atmosphere to this.
Well, then it wouldn't be allowed because it's in R1.
Right.
Then it would not be an allowed use. This is not anything to do with the use. It's, does it conform to the zoning ordinance?
Right.
And if it doesn't, does it create an undue hardship if you enforce the ordinance? And just the definition of what's an undue hardship, I think it's hard to get to. But that's your call.
We had the same issue at planning.
So I had reiterated what Bill said to the planning board.
Yeah.
And I did tell Robert when he was in, I was very outright, very forth with him that, we just adopted this ordinance, they very well could deny it. The height is 16 feet, but you have the right to appeal it. So he knew all that coming forward.
So how often does this happen?
Pardon me?
How often does this happen, where they're looking for a variance against the ordinance?
A few times a year.
Yeah.
Well, it happens a lot.
I mean, I don't know numerically how many times per year, for example, but it has happened. I mean, I've been doing this for 42 years and it's happened a lot. And that's why we changed the zoning ordinance to try to address as many of those things that were repetitive that we could think of. The things that came up often, we tried to remove. This is one that probably has come up before, but it's not, it hasn't been annually for many years, but it's come up before, and variances have been granted.
So how did the number, what was it, 16 feet? How did that come into play?
I wouldn't be able to tell you. I mean,
What, I don't want to get into the weeds on our zoning ordinance, because Lord knows we spent enough time on that.
Yep.
I guess what I'm curious is, this seems like a situation to me where if I were in your position, I wouldn't want to remodel my entire existing garage to add another one on. Is this something where we could allow for circumstances such as this, like a conditional use, rather than a variance?
not a conditional use.
That's not a condition.
I think part of the issue is, as far as, it would be a hardship to them because of the way their house is built. And to add on to make it attached would be very, very difficult.
Well, again, the definition of hardship is there's no reasonable use of the property, and it can't be an economic consideration. It can't be because it would cost more to do it in a way that would fit. That's not hardship under the law. I mean, if you want to say that it is, I guess I'll shut up. But it's not the way zoning should work. And if we want the height to be different, we should change our zoning ordinance. But I don't, that's just in my brain, we shouldn't be granting variances. We should be, have a zoning ordinance that fits for our community, but, that's a height that's been in our zoning ordinance for a long, long time for detached structures. And that's been it.
Part of me agrees that we probably should make the height 19 because times change. And in the 60s, nobody had their yard full of fish house / RV that sits there, and I'd rather see that fish house or the RV, the fifth wheel, whatever it is, inside a nice appearing garage than helter-skelter in your backyard.
I mean, that's up to the council to decide what our zoning ordinance should say. We just spent a lot of time deciding that, but if you think it should change, that's.
Well, in today's world, these houses, you need a 10-foot door.
I'm going to pull us back to this. I'm going to add in my 2 cents. I agree with Neil. We need to adjust our zoning ordinance. I think this is one of those things where when we're looking at such a comprehensive ordinance, it's impossible to think through all of the ifs of every possible situation. And this is one that was brought to light where we passed it with what's been, and maybe now we see we should have done something different with that. I will defer to the council. I think we did pass our zoning ordinance. It's pretty clear. We said we're going to take an enforcement. As much as I think that we should amend our zoning ordinance to allow this, I think as it's written and as we understand the law, I have to say we can't allow it today. That's my thought. If I'm 1 vote against 4, I'm good with that. But I feel bound by the law and the ordinance in this situation.
So I have one comment. Oh, I'm sorry, Sean.
I was just going to say, so looking at the findings, we have 7. The Board of Adjustment concludes, based on the facts presented, that strict enforcement of the zoning ordinance would or would not impose an undue hardship. And we've heard from Bill on the legal justification there. Anyone want to make a case for why it would, so that we can get rolling on this? Or are we leaning the other way on it? I'm looking for some consensus from the council on number 7.
Number 7. Oh, right.
I have one comment to make first. I can see why we're trying to enforce the ordinances, because we've run into some situations in the past where if we open the door for one, we got to open it for all. And do we really want to start doing that? I would say not. I think the best thing to do would be to throw it back on the planning committee's lap and let them take it from there, and then we'll do it the right way.
Yeah, because I don't care what the height is. I got no axe to grind with that. If you want to say that you can have detached structures that are 19 feet, 20 feet, 18, 2, the number, it doesn't matter. I just think whatever number you pick, because you can approve an amendment to the zoning ordinance fairly quickly and they can do what they're going to do, but I just think this is the wrong way to do it.
You want 1810, right?
Yep.
I'm going with our zoning ordinance saying 19. And I agree with Bill, we can amend that pretty quickly. And I'm almost just wondering if you don't withdraw your request for a variance, and then we amend our zoning ordinance, and then this all becomes moot.
Well, I think if that's the route you guys are looking at, because that's exactly what your planning commission said before, it's like, this doesn't really fit. I mean, how many houses in Painesville are just a single story? I think maybe that's where that 16 feet came from, so you'd have 8 foot and then 4 foot of rafters, whatever. And so that's where you got your 16, but like in my case, my house is already 20, you know? So it's not like I'm trying to build this big monstrosity sitting next to my house, and, you know, it's gonna be pretty comparable. So I think if you guys are gonna go look at changing that, then I have no problem rescinding it.
If you're going to do that, my recommendation though would be that you
Just
find,
officially deny it.
find that it would not impose an undue hardship, deny the variance request, and then do what you're going to do.
Okay.
I mean, at this point, I only have one contractor that said they could build this winter yet, but I also don't have my property ready. I have 2 trees I have to take down, and I don't think that's happening anymore, so.
So you're looking at spring
Yep.
construction. And hopefully by then we could have, worst scenario, you lose your $500.
Or whatever it was, yeah.
You're gonna lose it anyway.
Yes, it's already spent, so.
Which I feel kind of bad about, but if we can get the ordinance adjusted so you and the next guy can do this, I think that's where we're at, and I recommend that we do that as soon as possible.
Okay. So I'm going to call for the following motion. If anyone disagrees, you don't have to make it, but we have the findings of adopting the recommendations of the Board of Adjustment, or of the Planning Board, excuse me. Number 7, this would not impose an undue hardship because the property can be used, a garage can be built on the site as it exists. The Board of Adjustment concludes that the landowner's problem with its property and the reason for the necessity of a variance is not due to circumstances unique to the property, because this is something faced by other individuals around town as well. This would not alter the essential character of the locality because other homes in town have taller sheds. The Board of Adjustment concludes, based on the facts presented, that if the variance is permitted, it would not be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance and the comp plan because it directly contradicts the ordinance itself. And therefore, we would deny the application. Based on our conversation, I think that's where we all stand. Is anyone willing to make that motion?
The only thing, Sean, if you said you adopt the findings of
The planning.
planning, I think you have to say you reject them, your findings are different.
Okay.
Right.
So then, the motion, as I stated, with the rejection of the finding.
So moved.
Okay? Jen, did you get all of that, or do you want us to restate it?
I think it's pretty good.
Okay. All right, I have a motion by Thielen to reject the findings of the planning board and deny the variance. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brick. Any further discussion? I will note I do want to move forward on amending the zoning ordinance. I don't want this to be for naught. I do think that this is something where this was called out as an issue with the ordinance, and let's fix that. Anything else? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? That carries. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think we should address them coming back after the ordinance is amended, though, on how you want to handle that. If they need to make a new application, pay a new fee.
Well, they would be following the zoning law, they wouldn't need it.
Wouldn't be going down.
So building permit.
So we'll
Just
just
a building permit.
let
Just a
them know.
building permit, that's all they need.
Assuming they're not under whatever height limit, we should be good.
Perfect.
And that would give you the extra 8 inches.
And it gives you
Make it
your extra
19.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Nice Morton building.
Okay. Sorry, but thank you.
No, that's fine. I mean, $500 to help everybody else. I'm there. It's okay.
Right. Okay, then I'm going to pull us back all the way up to page 7. We have the rezone. Right, looking for rezoning 113 Garfield. We have the legal descriptions listed on there. Excuse me, looking to be rezoned from C2 highway commercial to
Aye.
Yes, it is an I. I-1, light industrial, so that we can construct a warehouse on the property. This is something that has gone through planning, and my understanding is that planning has recommended approval of the rezone.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Anything you want to tell us specifically about it?
No, it's just zoned where we can't build a warehouse there. That's what we like to do.
Cameron, this isn't the property that has a house already on it, is it?
Nope.
It's like old state property.
Right. So with this one, any disagreement with the rezone? Not
No.
hearing any. I'd call for a motion asking that the rezone be granted, that the planning board report and recommendation be adopted by reference and incorporated. The council is satisfied that no further public hearing is necessary. And whereas a majority of the council is in favor of granting the rezone, and therefore the rezone is granted.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Motion by Hertzberg, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Soini. I would say on the public hearing issue, I don't think that we need a public hearing. Like you said, this is former city space, it fits with the general scope of the area over there. Everything is right the way it is, so. Right, any further discussion? Calling the question, all those in favor of the findings recommended and adopting or approving the rezone, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, that carries. Okay, going on then to page 24, the property at 205 Garfield. Again, looking at a rezone there, we have a resolution, a report and recommendation here, very similar to the prior one, looking to rezone from, well, this one is from R1 to C2.
Is this the one we tore the house down? Or is this the one that still has the
This
This
house?
is the one that has the
House
rental
on it.
property on it.
The rental property, okay.
Yeah, no.
They plan to continue to rent the house that's on there for up to 5 years. And we do allow housing in C2. so.
Any thoughts or opposition on this one?
We had a hearing on it, so.
Just, was that a public hearing or?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so then, whereas the planning board made its report and recommendation to the council recommending that the rezone be granted, and whereas we would be adopting that recommendation and report, we are satisfied that no additional hearing is necessary and a majority is in favor of granting it, thereby we would grant said rezone. Is there a motion for that? Motion by Brick, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Hertzberg. Right, any further discussion on this? Again, I don't think we need an additional public hearing, planning already had one, so calling the question, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? That carries. Okay. Finally then, on to page 36. The final property located at 209 Garfield. Again, once again, similar. This one would be going from R1 to C2. And this would be the one that you tore down, or are tearing down.
Oh, it's tore down, all the trees are gone, all the garbage is gone.
It's an empty lot now.
Was there a yellow stucco house on there one time?
Well, there was an old house on it.
There was
Okay.
asbestos on the house.
Okay.
So we have a request for the rezone. This went before the planning board, public hearing. They recommended that it be granted. Looking through everything, we're therefore looking to adopt the recommendation. I don't think any further public hearing is necessary. Planning has already done that. My understanding, Gene, on all of these is that you actually had a pretty significant discussion on it at the time.
I did.
Okay. And not everyone was in favor of it, so.
There was one opposed.
but the majority of the full council is in favor of granting the request for a rezone and thereby would grant it. Sounds like that's where we're all at. Anyone willing to make that motion?
So moved.
Motion by Hertzberg, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Soini. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? That carries.
Thank you.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Good luck on the expansion.
Yeah. Always. Thank you.
Okay. All right, now we have a request for a rezone by the hospital and Centricare of the property located at 200 West First Street, requesting that it be rezoned from R1 single to C2 commercial.
It's parking lot.
Mhm.
For some reason, it's held to be rezoned. It's still parking lot.
Well, they should just build a house there.
Yeah, right. In the parking lot.
It's not like parking is an issue in that area.
Yeah, it is.
It's not like I almost get into an accident every other week because of a stop sign that's not enforced. Where are we at with restriping that? There's my little poke.
What are we restriping?
You guys are looking at each other.
I already gave my 2 cents on it.
No, the area over by the entrance to the clinic is an accident waiting to happen, and I've talked to Ron about extending the no parking zone to fit the ordinance and how we can paint that out or put up signs or what we have to do. So I'm just plugging it again to see what we can do before the roads get icy. So, take it as you will. We're not discussing that tonight. All right, so we have a report that recommends this be granted. I see no reason why we wouldn't. So we're therefore looking to adopt the recommendation of the planning board. We don't need any further public hearing to turn this into something it already is. And the majority of the council is in favor of granting the request, therefore we should grant it. Any further discussion on that, or does somebody want to make a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
All right, thank you, Gene. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Thielen. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? That carries. Jeez, sorry. Going down then to page 85, DNR selling, or DMV selling DNR licenses. Tarek, do you want to tell us a little bit about what's going on here?
Well, we applied to be able to sell these licenses and were declined by the DMV. So we're trying to find a way where we can get enough support and try to resubmit or try to have them reconsider us for this.
The resolution on here, I drafted it up after talking with Melinda for quite a while, looking over some of the other sites in the area. One thing I thought was interesting is that we were denied because the volume of expected license sales does not support additional agents, and that our hours of operation are not sufficient to meet public needs. But if you look at those who are listed and authorized to sell in Stearns County, that includes the Wake Park DMV, open, I think even more restrictive hours than we are now that we have expanded Mondays.
Yeah.
And I think it's the city of Melrose has 4 or 5 different DNR licensed people, which is a per capita of something like 700 per authorized user, and we would be at 900 and some.
Yeah.
So there are definitely areas that have more per resident than we do. I don't understand why we're denied, other than this is the DNR being difficult. So hopefully if we put some council support behind it, she can resubmit and apply for the appeal and hopefully get granted.
And yeah, we're trying to say it's complimentary, and people who come in to get their tabs and other things, this will be something that, and something that they have requested anyway in the past.
Yeah. And from talking to Melinda, I understand she said she's turned away, I think she said a few dozen over the last few weeks, people who came in to register something else and said, hey, can I get a license for whatever it is? And she said, no, you have to make your way over to Fleet or wherever it might be to get it. Hilltop doesn't do it anymore.
No, they don't, but I was in,
Macy's and Fleet is it.
yeah, I was in conversation with one of the guys that works up there and having questions about the ELS. But what they're doing up at Hilltop is telling everyone to go down to Fleet and come back and buy the bait,
Yeah.
which makes no sense.
They,
Well, Fleet doesn't sell bait.
yeah, where they say that the volume of expected license sales does not support additional agents, well, by closing down or Hilltop not renewing their contract, it tells me they've already cut agents. We wouldn't be adding, we'd be replacing one that cut.
Yep.
I don't know if we need to include that in the letter somehow and remind them that they shut down Hilltop or no longer.
I know that Melinda did bring that up. Melinda forwarded me a long email chain between she and the person who reviewed it, and she mentioned that to her. And they said, yeah, well, Hilltop closed in 2019, we still think it's wrong.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, we're offering service. I believe the major region, Hilltop, didn't renew. I think you get like $1 for per license. And with the
$1 for a $42 combo license.
huh?
Yeah, $1 for a $42 combo license. Sportsman's
Fishing
and
and
hunting, yeah.
registering your fish house and all that. I mean, it's
And there's
at the
some,
end of the day, by the reports you have to make and the work, it's not a revenue source.
well, there's some licenses that, that they don't have to charge a fee for. They still have to issue it.
But I think,
But I'm saying it wouldn't be a
Yeah.
big revenue source for the city. It would be kind of like motor vehicle. We're doing a service for the community.
yeah,
And in that regards, I'm in favor of it. And I'm willing to make the motion unless there's further discussion.
I have a motion by Hertzberg. Is there a second before we get into any further discussion?
Second.
Second by Soini. Okay, any further discussion? Neil, just going back to your question about including stuff, I think that's something we should definitely include in the letter for the appeal itself. I don't think for the resolution we need to have it necessarily, but certainly for,
The letter explaining, you know, we've lost services and
yeah, we're just trying to pick up. And certainly we have a busy enough DMV most of the time. So. All right, any further discussion on this? Calling the question, all in favor of the resolution indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? That carries. All right, page 89, setting a joint meeting between the council and planning for Monday, December 19th at 6 in the Public Works Building Conference Room for purposes of doing a League of Minnesota Cities training. Jen, do you want to tell us just a little bit about this? I know planning sort of said, yeah, we'd love to do it.
So after the rezoning public hearings that were held 2 meetings ago for planning, one of the board members suggested some planning and zoning training. The city staff has offered planning and zoning training periodically to both the council and the planning board, but I have not had a lot of interest from people to go. So after she suggested that, the board was super supportive of it. I ran it past the mayor, and he said, not a bad idea. So I reached out to the League of Minnesota Cities. They have a 1-hour webinar that's put on by the League of Minnesota Cities land use attorney. And following that, there is an interactive webinar that the members can take to the League of Minnesota Cities for $15 each. However, it's a brand new interactive portal, modal, whatever you want to call it, and the league is willing to put us as the guinea pigs, and we can all take it for free as long as we give the League of Minnesota Cities feedback. They'll take our feedback, change whatever they need to change before it goes live for the rest of the state of Minnesota. After we do that, if we still think we need more training, I believe the league would be willing to send somebody out here. If we did that, there probably would be a fee, and I would probably invite a couple other small cities to join us. So at the last, planning board meeting, they suggested that it be joint, so that there could be some conversation or interaction between the council and planning board as we went through the webinar. So that brought us to setting a special joint meeting. And then the interactive piece, as long as you are set up through the League of Minnesota Cities with the email, which I'll make sure everybody has, that part or that hour session you can do on your own at home. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, we can certainly set you up with the conference room here so that you can get that done. And then we can talk about it after everybody's done that. However, this is a pretty quick turnaround. That's why we want to do it in December. And then right after that meeting, you'll have access. And the sooner you can get that other piece done, the better, because they'd like to put it live in early January to the rest of the state.
I think it's a great idea.
I did talk to Ron, and he said we could use the conference room at the Public Works building because our panels are not working.
Speaker loud enough over there? Okay.
And it would, it would be 4 council people.
And the mayor.
Well,
Oh, I'm-
is double.
I'm
so,
both, yeah.
4 planning, that's 8, Tark, myself, Brad, so.
And right now, we're short one on planning, but we're hoping to have one on that we could also come to the training. It kind of came up with the Morazek one, because we felt it should kind of be denied, but we didn't want to deny it, and Jen says with all her training, it should have been denied. And so then we thought we should get trained too.
And if there's a possibility where those interested parties that want to be on planning, that we could appoint on the 12th of December, we could actually invite them to that
Yep.
December 19th training. We're gonna, put them in knee-deep right away, but
Well, I suggested the council do it too, because that could change. The council person on planning could be different in a year or two.
It won't.
Good answer.
Dream on.
Just because.
I know.
Well, we're looking for, I think it's a great idea. Thanks, Jen, for doing the research to get this lined up. It's great, especially that we can do it at no cost. We're looking for a motion to set a special joint city council meeting for Monday, December 19th at 6 at the Public Works Building.
So moved.
All right, I have a motion by Thielen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Soini. Any further discussion?
I may or may not be here.
Okay.
Just,
Are we having pizza or?
you're gonna cook Christmas dinner and bring it, right?
I may bring a
Holidays.
cookie.
Oh, for yourself?
We'll discuss that later.
Get all sugared up.
Are you making the motion to amend to?
No, that's okay. I'll get by.
Calling the question, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. That carries. All right. Page 106 through 136 are one of the dullest things I've ever seen in my life.
Ron had to write it.
But they're the addendums to the irrigation agreements. Ron, this is the $10 reduction because of the chloride issue from last summer, correct?
Correct it is, and the auditors indicated that we needed to do the addendums, that the motion that council passed wasn't enough.
Okay.
yes, this is not Ron's fault at all.
No, I know.
Actually, Linda and I kind of we're on Ron to get them done because we will get rid of them if we don't have them.
Oh, I know, anytime I see dreariness like this, I know it's not Ron, it's the lawyers and the accountants, so I get it. We have a number of addendums, they're supporting what we've already done, make the auditors happy. Each of them just a $10 reduction in cost per acre for 3 years with the city's renters less pivot 22. Ron, anything special you need to tell us about these?
No, other than, what you're seeing here. Just for information, this year we did spray irrigate 285 million gallons. Our chloride level this year was approximately 100 milligrams per liter, less than a year ago. So we're hoping that it was just a kind of a fluke year with the spring drought that we had a year ago. A lot of farmers, did see that hardship with lower yields. They're also now doing some grid sampling and adding gypsum. So yes, I think that $10 was well deserved on their end.
All right, so we're looking for a motion to approve the addendums to the irrigation agreements with the renters listed on page 106 of our agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Soini, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Hertzberg. As stated on the action sheet, any further discussion?
I did, and I don't know why, but I looked at all the contracts and got my own calculator going, and I come up with $10,650 a year, and so it's $31,950. Our irrigation fund can absorb that, and we're still in good shape.
Yes, this has now been figured into next year. Yes, it is.
So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Neil. And I do appreciate the thoroughness. No one can ever say Neil doesn't come prepared to a meeting, and I appreciate that. All right, all those in favor of the motion to adopt the addendums indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None? Carries. Okay, trail grants on page 136. Ron or Chuck? Chuck, we haven't heard from you.
Yeah, I will take this one. As the council may recall, the Joint Trail Board's been working on a proposed trail extension to connect the Glacial Lakes Trail to the Lake Coronis Trail to the sort of the northwest part of the city. Last year, we applied for the Transportation Alternatives funding for this trail segment and weren't successful last year. So one of the programs in your packet is reapplying for that program again. It's very common to have to apply multiple times to some of these programs before you get funded. So with the Transportation Alternatives Program, we'd be requesting $440,000 of the total project cost of about $660,000. So the local match would be about $220,000. In addition, there's a newer grant called the Active Transportation State Infrastructure Program. That's actually state funds, whereas the Transportation Alternatives Program is federal funds. So this other one, the Active Transportation is state funds. We could apply for the same segment for phase 1, but that allows us to go up to $500,000 in that program. So basically, we're looking to submit both applications here within the next month to the different programs. Both are through MnDOT. And like I said, one's for pursuing $500,000 and the other one's for $440,000.
Okay. All right. All right, hearing no further discussion, we're looking for a motion to approve Resolution 2022-36 and 2022-37 regarding both grants that Chuck has described to us.
So moved.
Motion by Thielen, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Neil. All right, any further discussion? All right, Chuck, thanks for doing the work to get these filled out. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? That carried. I guess I shouldn't just, who did all the work on them? Ron or Chuck? Yeah.
It's been a joint effort with the Trail Board.
All right, and then we need to pay people. We have pay request, or payment estimate number 2. Chuck, you want to talk to us about this?
Yes, this is the irrigation system and wastewater, or out at the wastewater treatment facility. It's when we obtained the new land, Stamer property. We extended a force main to connect that into the irrigation system. We've been waiting for some time for some final paperwork from the contractor, and we finally did receive that. In your packet is a copy of the final pay request in the amount of $38,543.05. All in all, the project's coming in about right around $14,000 under their original bid amount.
We're looking for a motion to approve payment estimate number 2, the final payment in the amount of $38,543.05 payable to Keckley Underground.
I'll make the motion to approve payment estimate number 2, final payment in the amount of $38,543.05 to Keekly Underground.
Okay, a motion from Gene, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Neil, as stated on the action sheet. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? That carries. All right, concludes our business. Informational items noted on the agenda, our garbage rates, our upcoming meeting schedules, the investment reports, along with the motor vehicle and building reports. With that, we are adjourned. Thanks. And we are all back here on Wednesday.